Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today our topic of discussion is because Supreme Court has recently given a verdict on J&K restrictions, various restrictions, especially on the internet. Here we'll discuss in detail, but recently, only today, in fact, a 2G services mobile network has been revived back in Jammu and broadband services are revived back in Srinagar. But we'll discuss this topic. You can get connected with me for updates on Instagram and Facebook because I feel together we can make a difference. Now see what is the relevance of this topic in your exams from your mains paper 2. It will be covered under executive and judiciary, and even for your international relations, especially your internal security here is an important part, which is a part of your paper 3. From examination level, you should know about restrictions on the fundamental rights, constitutional protection to the use of internet. So context I've already told you, because recently Supreme Court gave a judgment in response to petitions which were timely filed, which argued that internet shutdown and curbing of other kind of civil liberties in Jammu and Kashmir, they were challenged. Now here we'll discuss what is the meaning of this Supreme Court verdict. What is the meaning? So first thing, Supreme Court said infinite ban on internet is impermissible. It states categorically that an indefinite ban on the internet is totally impossible. There is no permission for this. But here the Supreme Court fails to direct the restoration of services. Although Supreme Court has not said that, but however we can see the impact of judgment that 2G services are again started in the Union Territory. Now coming to section 144 and legitimate expression of opinion. See, the Supreme Court said that section 144, here we are talking about section 144 of the CRPC, that is Code of Criminal Procedure. It cannot be used as a tool to prevent the legitimate expression of opinion, or if there is grievance or there is any grievance about the exercise of any or the curbing of any democratic right. So you cannot stop the peaceful protest going on. And next thing, there is no ruling on the government actions. So this is the disappointing aspect of the verdict, that the court's failure to give a ruling on the validity of the government's action. See, here this particular ruling, according to the analysis, it somewhere fails to hold the government to account for the manner in which it exercised its powers. Moreover, it states categorically that an indefinite ban on the internet is impermissible, but however, it totally failed to direct that these services should be restored back in the Union Territory. So the Supreme Court does not go beyond directing the authorities to review all their orders and restrictions forthwith. Although this is the meaning, that how the Supreme Court considered reviewing of the whole order. So we'll talk about the key takeaways from this verdict. First is internet use constitutionally protected. Is constitutionally protected, that means the use of internet which acts as a medium of free speech as well as trade and commerce, because a lot of your business is dependent upon it. It is constitutionally protected. And then there's a test of proportionality also, which lays down that any reasonable restriction on our fundamental rights, be it your internet ban or section 144 order, it will have to survive the test of proportionality. So what does this test means? That the restriction should be proportionate to the necessity for such a measure. At the same time, it totally cautions against the excessive utility of the proportionality doctrine when there is a thing called national security comes into play. So usually the government always play the card of the national security. On the name of national security, the civil liberties are usually curbed in our country. But the Supreme Court has said that there should be no secret orders. That means the government is bound to publish all orders it passes regarding such restrictions, such that they can be challenged by the people in the court of law. So while the government stand that it could not produce all the orders on restrictions imposed, the Supreme Court did not strike them down on that ground. Right? So these are the key takeaways. So to conclude, we can say that this judgment laid down some important principles in a fundamental rights case, which have a character of advisory opinion. So in this verdict, rather than a judgment, we are finding it is an advising. The Supreme Court is advising the government. It is an advisory opinion. So now we will talk about Supreme Court on internet shutdowns. Like what is happening in India? What kind of internet shutdowns we are facing? See what here after this verdict, what has triggered Supreme Court? Because India tops the list of internet shutdowns globally. According to the Software Freedom Law Center's tracker, there have been 381 shutdowns since 2012, 106 which were in 2019. So the ongoing shutdown in Kashmir, however, the broadband is restored in Kashmir. It is the longest ever in any democratic country. So the prime mover, if you want to talk about the Supreme Court, the temporary suspension of telecom services rules, which are 2017 rules issued under Telegraph Act, deals with restricting internet access. Moreover, it does not provide for publication or notification of the order suspending internet. But here, Apex Court mandated that such orders must be made available. So this allows individuals to now challenge the orders before courts in J&K and even the rest of India. And here court also said that internet suspension orders are subjected to judicial review. So this is in the wake of all kind of protest we are facing for the new citizenship law. Internet services were also suspended temporarily in other parts of the country also, for example in Uttar Pradesh, Delhi and Karnataka. So there should not be excessive burden on free speech even if complete prohibition is imposed. So it ruled that restrictions, if you want to impose in an emergency, it should be only in the case of emergency. Hence they must be proportionate to the concern. Their objective must not be that you are trying to curb the legitimate, rather any emergency. So authorities must necessarily consider that if there is an alternative available which is least restrictive mechanism. So every decision to impose restriction should be backed by sufficient material and amenable to judicial review. So in short, this discussion is about that these suspension orders are subjected to judicial review. But as I told you, how everything is justified in case of J&K, the court mandated that all orders regarding Kashmir case must be made public to provide essential services to e-banking and hospitals immediately. But Center has always argued in this case that this is a matter of national security, given that it pertains to Kashmir with a history of militancy. So now I will talk about the implications of shutdown. If such kind of long shutdowns take place, what are the implications? Firstly, on education. See, this is very important from your subjective point of view, because education is now inextricably linked to the internet. Do you agree? Enable all kind of students to have access to internet. That will help to enhance opportunities for students to acquire knowledge from all kind of available resources. Then even in the Kerala High Court case, you have seen they have acknowledged that this is a case where Fahima Shireen, a case involving Fahima Shireen, who was an 18-year-old BA student, she filed a petition seeking to set aside the rule that actually denied her internet access and to all women students at night in the hostel. So education is one thing. Another is women's safety. See, there is KWC, that is Kashmir Women's Collective. It is an organization in the valley that actually helps women who are targets of violence, domestic violence or otherwise, and even the familial disputes for the women. So this team, what they do, they counsel people, counsel women, but these women reach to this KWC through Facebook or any social media platform. So it helps them pursue legal recourse or provide support through other channels. So with this communication shutdown, although I'm again repeating, today 2G services are restored in Jammu and broadband services are restored in Kashmir, but this long shutdown in J&K after Centre's decision to revoke special status, services as the above came to totally standstill. So the gendered, above as mean I'm telling you about KWC here. So the gendered impact of a communication blockade, especially in areas ridden with conflict, is often missed in the clamor of the politics. Next is about human rights, because for a lot of people the internet has become a very vital way to connect them to the professional and personal lives. So in 2016, you should remember this, UN declared that the internet is a human right. Then coming to the democracy, the internet today is a platform where dissent in opinions can be registered meaningfully. So it creates a democratized space cutting across distinction of caste, class, gender, and many of the schemes that government rolls out are linked to the internet. So people cannot have benefit of those schemes also. Coming to the financial viewpoint, the financial setback as a result of internet shutdowns can be crippling for the business also, both in the formal and informal sectors. So there have been huge losses, financial losses to the people in the city also, in J&K also. So here to conclude, what we can say, the state is always bestowed with the responsibility to provide security to its citizens. That's all right. But there is a doctrine of constitutionalism that calls for a limited government. There should be a limited government. Therefore, a modern democratic like us, like India, we must strive to strike a balance between two things. These two things are liberty and security. On the name of security, you cannot always curb the civil liberties of the people, and on the name of liberty, you cannot compromise the security. Therefore, there is a need to have a balance between these two. See, you should understand here, a modern democratic state like India, we must try to strike a balance between liberty and security. Why? See, if there is security but there is no liberty, this is known as autocracy. You can use this line, right? I will repeat again. Security without liberty is autocracy, and liberty without security is known as anarchy. So, if one combination exists, it is autocracy. If other exists, this is anarchy. So, we need to have a balance between these two if we want a democracy. Otherwise, it cannot be called a democracy, right? So this is all about today's lecture. If you have any queries, you can connect me with me on social media, and PDF will be available on my Telegram channel, and the link is t.me/Veronica_, right, for the notes. Thank you.